Good day, lads and laddies. Welcome to another briefing on Vox-Ops. I would just like to add a quick note. If you are an Alpha2 Phase 1 package holder, meaning you have access on October 25th, then today, Thursday, October 24th, there's a stress test going live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Whether you've been here for 7 years or 7 minutes, let's talk about Alpha2 and the Grand Dungeon, the Tower of Carphin. Dungeons. Let's talk about their size, dynamics, difficulty and design, the Tower of Carphin, and its levels. And of course, loot tables. Dungeons offer one of the primary pieces of content in Alpha 2. There will be different tiers of dungeons, each designed for different groups and class compositions. Dungeons are categorized by their size, ranging from a grand dungeon to a pocket dungeon, catering to all different types of player experiences. A grand dungeon may allow dozens of parties to experience this content routinely, while a pocket dungeon may be designed for a few parties and is ideal for players who may only have 30 minutes to play. Content in Ashes of Creation exists at approximately an 80-20 disparity between open world and instanced, meaning the vast majority of the time, you can expect to be wary of other players when completing any content, especially dungeons. While it is not implemented right now, attacking player-controlled monsters, monsters with large level disparities, or players with an experience debt can expect to notice worse loot tables, so when you're farming that delicious loot, ensure that you focus on content at your level and that your character does not have experience debt to pay off. As the world of Verra grows, so do its dungeons. A dungeon you clear on day 1 will update with the local node's zone of influence. As the node grows, so will the dungeons in its area, meaning a node leveling from 2 to 3 will create additional dungeon buildings, mobs, storylines, bosses, and those oh so sweet loot tables. Let's talk about dungeon difficulty. Ashes of Creation PvE difficulty is not intended to compete with high-end trial modes in ESO, WoW, or Final Fantasy XIV. However, Ashes of Creation is designed to be open world, meaning that all of its content is exposed to the risk of player combat, so even an easy mob pool might get turned on its head. However, for those looking for that PvE challenge, some bosses will have an entombment process to create a barrier of entry around a raid and allow for that fine-tuned PvE experience we all crave. This system may not be implemented yet, but down the road we can expect to see dungeon difficulty scale with player completion. This means the number of participants in the encounter and the completion rate of previous encounters will help shape the difficulty of subsequent content areas within the dungeon. Additionally, some bosses in Ashes of Creation will dynamically react based on player actions. For example, a raid for 8 people has 24 show up. The boss will not gain increased stats, however, it would select a high damage, large AoE ability from its kit, where comparably it may have typically selected a single target ability. Loot tables in Ashes of Creation are finite and must be distributed by the players after each encounter. This means that bringing 100 players to roll a boss designed for 40 players would result in 60 of the players receiving next to no loot. This, coupled with a large world, will create a significant strain on any large Zerg group moving across Verra. Now, let's dive into the Tower of Carphin. With 2 sections, the wreckage of the city and the tower itself, it will be the largest dungeon in the Riverlands biome and a major quest hub for Alpha 2. Due to the dungeon's size, groups will likely stay on the same level, farming a specific area that they have carved out for themselves. Now, let's dive into the levels of the tower. The tower has 6 levels. Each level will have the space for 3 to 4 8-player parties at a time.
Oh, no, not like that. Nuke it from orbit. Nuke it from orbit.
First floor, the Arcanium. The first floor is a large library with grand halls and spiral staircases. Once dedicated to magical research, the space is now in disrepair, with blood pooling on the floor, trickling down from above, and animated statues from alcoves attacking any who enter. Second floor, the Adminstratae. This floor contains private offices and a lounge area for wizards with magically stored historical archives and research papers. Mimics disguised as books and laboratory equipment will be awaiting intruders. The central feature is an arcane elevator that connects to higher floors. Third floor, the Crystal Halls. As the party ascends the elevator, they pass by viewing galleries that display advanced magical constructs and theories. These areas resemble a museum meant to impress students and dignitaries. The floor will showcase magical advancements and emblems. 4th floor, the Sacrificial Chamber. This floor housed secretive wizards' research labs and became the location of desperate sacrificial rituals when the world began to fall into ruin. The mages turned to forbidden magic under the influence of the ancient Atrax, transforming the area into a summoning and sacrifice room. The undead roam, the result of the ritual that corrupted Laria Lamonte and Varric Pulsifer. 5th floor, the Observatory. The top of the tower was severely damaged by the explosion. This floor contains an orrery used for channeling large amounts of essence, focusing on the summoning rituals from below. The Observatory, once a place for auguries and scries, is now partially destroyed. With red mist emanating from above and large footsteps heard as the Eye of Ayla, the tower's roof, comes into view. This will be where the most powerful blood magic ritual took place, with its consequences evident across the land. Whether you end up diving into the Tower of Carphin, another pocket dungeon, or PvPing those that are, the world of Verra will keep you on your toes, so be ready to fight for your life with your loot on the table and your time on the line. For this upcoming Phase 1 alpha, it is a true alpha, meaning that there will be scalability issues, performance issues, crashes, and numerous bugs that players are expected and asked to report by the Intrepid Studios team.
Alpha 2 is an alpha. This is like an actual alpha. We are not like a game where it's like we're just porting over or translating to another region. This is like a proper alpha. So as Steven has stated many times, it's not a game. We are here to test and get things moving along. And as you can see here, what our testing goals are as we continue forward. The game will become more of a game as we go through Alpha 2.
The maximum level in Alpha 2 Phase 1 will be level 25, which could take players upwards of 100 hours to progress through. Content in the alpha will include the Pocket Dungeon, Grand Dungeon, Gathering, Processing, and Crafting. Intrepid Studios is designing Ashes of Creation with longevity in mind. Their monetization model includes a cosmetic store and a monthly subscription cost. Now, there's no pay to win, no pay to convenience, and all expansions released for the duration of the game's life will be free for all players. Good day, lads and laddies. I hope you have been enjoying my content so far. Stay tuned next week for my first debriefing video, where I'll be covering everything from the first weekend of Alpha 2. If you end up playing this weekend and have any questions about the Alpha 2, leave them in a comment below and I'll look to answer them in my next debriefing video.